Hello everyone. I was asked to give some floral arranging tips. So today I'm just going to show you some basic things you can do when arranging flowers in a vase. So to start with, I fill the vase with 2/3 to 3/4 full of cool water. And then usually if you buy your flowers at the grocery store, you'll get a packet of this. I usually use about half a packet and dump into the cool water. If you don't have this, you can use Clorox, just literally like 2 or 3 drops, just a little bit of Clorox. And what this and the Clorox does is helps kill any bacteria that might get into the water. Okay, then what I did, and if Chris wants, if you want to come in there, I used some clear floral tape, but if you don't have that, you can just use Scotch tape, and I kind of crisscrossed across the vase. This is a tip. I don't always do this, but this, when you're first starting, it just helps help hold the flowers in place. And depending on how wide your vase is, I only did 1 strip across this way, but you can maybe do a couple more if it's a really wide vase. So that's just, those are some really basic tips when you're first starting. And then I always start with greenery. This is leather leaf. You can oftentimes find this at Smith's or Harmon's. They'll have little bunches of it. It's usually pretty easy to find and cheap, so it's a good one to use. I usually cut it, and I've already pre-cut this, but just want to cut it so that like the bottom leaves rest kind of about where the rim of the vase is. And I'm kind of putting this in the four corners. I've got 4 pieces of leather, so in the 4 corners there I'm putting a piece of leather. And then in between I'm going to use, this is called Salal. This isn't as easy to find. You might find this in bunches with other greenery at the grocery store, but usually I can just find this at my suppliers. But I like to use 2 kinds of greenery. You don't have to, but I just think it helps add texture to the flowers, to the bouquet. And I'm kind of going to go in between the leather with this one. Kind of helps fill it in nicely, and then just gives it a little more texture, like I was saying. Okay, and there are a lot of different types of greenery out there. You can use whatever you like. And then I take, this is called Leaf Shine, and you can find this, I've seen it at Michael's. You might be able to find it at other places. I usually get mine at my supplier again. Just spritz it, and this just kind of helps. I kind of pre-sprayed it already too, but it just helps preserve the greenery and makes it shine a little bit. So there's your basic, that's how you get your greenery. That will help when you're arranging your flowers to kind of help hold the flowers in place. Okay, I'm going to do some daisies. Daisies are a good one too. And then when you snip your flowers, you always want to cut them at a 45-degree angle. That helps the flowers absorb the water better. And again, I'm going to kind of go in kind of the corner areas with it. You can just kind of gauge where you want them, how high you want them and things. Daisies are a nice thing to use. They're again inexpensive, and they're so full that they help fill up a vase. I'm going to kind of trim off the bottom parts of the daisy, and then I'll show you something you can do with those when you're done. But you don't want any of the flower in the vase, so I'm just going to cut a bunch off. And I think I might just go right kind of in the center again with that one. You can kind of look at it and see if you like it there. I think I might want it even just a little shorter. And maybe turn it so it's more like that. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, and then with this arrangement, the husband he specifically requested 6 roses because his wife had 6 children. So this one's kind of crooked. I prefer, for the center, I always start with the center rose, and you want that one to be your tallest flower in the arrangement. And I want to get a straight of that's about right. So I'm going to cut that at a 45-degree angle, just about to the bottom of the stem. And then just try and stick that right in the middle of the arrangement. Something else you can do, these flowers look pretty good, but if you have a bad stem, or a bad petal I mean, they kind of grow with a protective layer on the outside, and they don't always look the best. So you want to just pull out like the outside petals of a flower, of a rose specifically, and then that, you know, you can get rid of that dead part of the rose basically. And then from there, you want to just kind of go make the other ones not as tall as the center one, and I kind of like to make them not totally even. It just depends on how if you like symmetrical or if you want them not so symmetrical. This one I probably will do a little more symmetrical maybe, but. And before I did this, I also cleaned off all the leaves and any thorns. Some roses become really thorny. The roses you get at the store usually aren't too thorny. They might have a few, but not. When I pick them up from my supplier, they're awful. They're just a ton of thorns in them. So you can use some gloves if you want, some really heavy garden gloves. Like this one still has some little prickly thorns on it. You can pop them off with your thumb or snip them off, or sometimes you can just put your garden gloves on and just go down the petal like that and it will rip them off. Or the stem, not the petal, sorry. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just need one more rose in there. And this is where you can kind of start to adjust and look and see where you want things, and if you want to adjust them at all. Like I might put this one a little bit more over here. Okay, so I've got my roses in. The last thing I'm going to do is just add a little baby's breath. And again, kind of snip off if you want. Just get the bottom off. And just kind of put them in between the flowers. Kind of want this, I don't like this to be taller than the flowers, but towards the center they might be kind of about the same height as the rose. About like that. And I'll just put a few stems of those in. Just fiddle with it, and that's basically the design. You see, and if you want to add some ribbon to it, I often will add ribbon to it, a bow or something, but it's fine without it too, whatever you prefer. And then come back and I'll show you what I've kind of done with the extra daisies.